Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to go try to find the World War II Corsair Fighter Plane crash on Mount Tamalpais on Cataract Creek. You can see Cataract Creek right behind me here. Somewhere on this creek is one of the crashed airplanes. Just for the record, I'm on Mount Tamalpais, which is in Marin County, which is just north of San Francisco, California. Across the bay in Alameda is a naval base, and it was very active during World War II. And there are 4 Corsairs up in the air doing a defensive flying mission. 2 of them collided in the air. Fortunately, both pilots were able to parachute to safety, but the planes crashed on Mount Tamalpais. And there's a very famous airplane engine that's in Cataract Creek down here that's supposed to be relatively easy to find. And then there's the rest of the wreckage is scattered around. The planes collided at over 10,000 feet, so the pilots were able to eject to safety. One of them was uninjured and the other one was severely injured with a spinal injury, and I'm going to pull out my notes here and I'm going to tell you the names of those guys. Okay, so the pilot who parachuted to safety was Lieutenant Charles W. Ankerberg. And the injured pilot who had the spinal injury was Ensign Arthur V. Daly. He did live, but he had a broken spine, and I'm not sure if he was paralyzed or what other injuries there were, but I'm sure it was a lifetime debilitating injury. Hats off to those guys for their service. So the Corsair was designed by this guy, Chance Vaught, and he had a factory and produced the airplanes as well. And the airplane turned out to be so good that there was a high demand for it. He got a contract with the Navy. In order to produce enough planes, they had to begin production in 2 other factories. One was a Goodyear factory and the other one was the Brewster factory. So, and those 3 airplanes had different letter designations. So the Corsairs that were manufactured in the Vaught factory were the F4U, and the Goodyear models were the FG, and the Brewster models were the F3A, but they were essentially the same airplane, I believe. And they were designed to take off and land on aircraft carriers, but as it turns out, they weren't that good on aircraft carriers, and they had to make some modifications over the years, and they didn't really figure it out until toward the end of the war. So they were mostly used as land-based aircraft. They were the first single-engine aircraft to achieve a speed of over 400 miles per hour. So they were very powerful, and they were powered by this Pratt and Whitney R2800 double Wasp engine, which had 2 cylindrical banks of 9 cylinders each, I think. So it was an 18-cylinder, and it produced 2,000 horsepower. So it was pretty amazing, and that's the engine that we're going to look for in the creek down here. The Japanese considered that aircraft as a very formidable opponent. In fact, the Corsair had an 11-to-1 kill ratio, which is stunning. Even a 2-to-1 or a 4-to-1 is impressive, but 11-to-1 is just off the charts. They were very feared and admired by the Japanese. So the first prototype of the Corsair was completed in 1940, and then Vaught got the contract with the Navy and the Marines. They both used the aircraft, and they were produced from 1940 to 1953, so they were used in World War II and the Korean War as well. And I think after 1953 they were decommissioned. There was another aircraft that turned out to be a better airplane for landing on aircraft carriers, and that was the Grumman FGF Hellcat. And it wasn't as fast as the Corsair, and it was inferior in some other ways. It was just better for landing on aircraft. So that one's the one that superseded the Corsair after a while. There's one amazing tale that I want to tell about the Corsair and an amazing pilot. He was a Marine. He was Lieutenant R.R. Kingman, and he was flying in the Okinawa area, and he was chasing a Japanese plane, and he was so high that it was extremely cold, and the grease in the machine guns just solidified and rendered them inoperable. What he did was he came up behind it and allowed his propeller to clip the rear wing of the Japanese aircraft and downed it that way. And he ended up taking 5 inches off of his propeller. Now those propellers on those planes were huge. They had a 13-foot diameter. The fact that he was willing to do that was pretty amazing, because it was a very risky maneuver. But in the end, he downed the aircraft and he made it back safely. So that's pretty amazing, and a tribute to both the pilot and the aircraft. Hats off to R.R. Kingman. Okay, so in order to find the aircraft engine, what you want to do is normally you would park at the Laurel Dell turn out on Ridgecrest Avenue. However, the road was closed this morning, so I parked at Rock Spring. So that just makes the walk a little bit longer. I mean, it's a beautiful walk along the creek here, so no complaints, but I'm just having to make it a slightly longer walk through this amazing trail. And you can see the trail in front of me. It's just really nice. And Cataract Creek is just over there to the right. Okay, folks, we had to climb over this log here. There's the creek down there. And I think we're going to find it. We're off the trail here. And if you look carefully in the creek there, I can see the engine. Wow. This is pretty cool. And we are approaching it right now. Just sitting here in Cataract Creek, a little bit above Laurel. Oh my God, it's huge. There it is, just under the tree. These are the cylinders here. I'm gonna put my hand here so you can just see the relative size of the cylinders. Wow. There's a log in the way, and this is looking over from the other side, and I'm going to climb over there and have another view of it. Okay, I'm currently climbing over the log to have a better view of it. Coming around to this side. Oh yeah, wow. This is so amazing. So I'm literally in the creek. You probably don't want to come here at high water because it's going to be more difficult. Okay, so here's the view looking downstream. Creek's flowing right there just a little bit. Wow. It's so blended in with the environment. There's the cylinders on the bottom, and they're almost just covered in debris because I'm sure they have water flowing through them during the rainy season. And see the big cylinders there, and then you can see the double radial configuration here. This is from the top. Here's a really good view of the double radial situation. Cylinders are just staggered there, side by side. Okay, here's a view from the other side. And I'm looking at this piston here, and you can see those what appear to be valve indentations. And if we just look over here a little bit, then we see what look to be piston ring lands, I assume. And once again, you can see that double radial configuration. 18 cylinders, 2,000 horsepower. And then, you can see my hand here. Some sort of flywheel thing or something. Wow. How cool. Oh, and this one even has, I guess these must be the push rods. This one sort of almost has a cylinder head on it, as well as that one down there, too. Maybe I should just lift it up and look at it, huh? Ha ha. And here's another pretty cool view. I think that pipe there is maybe part of the exhaust. And these holes here are probably exhaust ports. And you see the cylinder fins going this way, and then these fins are going this way. So I think this is probably sort of a cylinder head. And that pivot there, I'm guessing that's the rocker arm of some sorts. I don't know much about these engines, but I imagine they're kind of, even though they're radial, they probably work like a pushrod engine. Wow, it's just amazing. And here's another view. This is the back of the engine again. And there's some of more of the, what I believe are the exhaust ports. Maybe intake and exhaust, not sure. And probably intake and exhaust, probably goes in one and comes out the other for each cylinder. And then what's interesting here is we see these look to be like pushrod tubes. So this cylinder head here is more intact with these, what I think are pushrod tubes. There's more down there at the bottom. So this side of the engine survived the impact a little bit better. Really cool. I don't know what to say. That was pretty darn cool. There's more crash site stuff, but unlike that one, it's not very easy to get to. So we're gonna head up into the hills here, do a little bushwhacking. Turn the camera around so you can see. We're gonna go up in this clearing up here. And somewhere up in there is more wreckage, and we're gonna try to find it. And there's no guarantees, but this is where it gets to be a real hunt. Okay, so I'm climbing up the hill here, following some deer trail. It's really very rugged, and I have no idea if I'm going to find anything, but I'm kind of operating under the assumption that the aircraft engine ended in the creek because it's kind of heavy and round-ish, so it probably tumbled down the hill. So if I follow a fall line up the hill, I think I have a chance of finding something, but no guarantees. Let's see what we find. All right, folks, I'm just trouncing through the woods here. I found a trail, but I've been doing a lot of bushwhacking, and you know, it's just rough terrain up here. I think you have to know exactly where the crash is, so I'm gonna abort. I looked at my map, and I think this trail will bring me back to Rock Springs. So I'm gonna do more research. I'm gonna try to find the rest of the wreckage, but just thrashing around in the woods blindly doesn't seem like the right way to do it. Plan B is gonna be to try to identify some GPS points and then find it that way. So I'll make another video on that. But anyway, thanks for coming along. I hope you enjoyed it. I am having a great hike, so I'm not too concerned about not finding it. But the engine was a real treat, so I do hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for coming along. Until next time, thanks for watching.